Welcome to On the Chain. This is Jeff. We have a lot of things that we're going to dig into and cover. Ripple dropping a major XRPL upgrade. This one really critical. I'm going to dig into it. There's some other introduction here also with new upgrade to the validator to the node. And so let's get into this. Ripple dropping one of the most important XRPL upgrades in months, and almost nobody's really explaining why it truly matters. Everybody wants to focus really on the hype of it, but we're going to dig into the expanded reason why it's going to be really important. We're going to go institution, financial, and we're going to go global infrastructure. Token escrow is now live across issued assets, not just XRP. That means programmable conditional settlement for stablecoins, real world assets, institutional tokens, all is on the chain. Not necessarily on the chain, but let's say on the chain. This isn't hype. This is real infrastructure that's being rolled out here. And here's the part that most people are missing. While digital financial rails are quietly getting stronger, political pressure, as we've seen it, is building across the West from country to country. The UK continues to face growing public backlash. There's many fraud probes that are ongoing right now in the United States, and they're beginning to intensify. The public trust in political institutions, especially the leftist political institutions, is eroding. And when financial sovereignty expands at the same time that political trust is getting tested, this is exactly when we begin to see power shifts. And this is very important for us all to key in on. This is why Chip and I on the chain here, we like to workshop and break things down, because most people in the crypto space just don't simply understand the political aspect of it. There's a lot of shows out there. They focus on speculative hype, but very few are actually breaking down the realities. So today we're actually going to break down, and we're going to be breaking down or we are going to break down the XRPL upgrade, what it actually unlocks, why this moment matters far beyond crypto. And I'm getting excited about this. I'm ready to get into it. If you guys are ready to kick this thing off, I say, let's do it. Let's get into it right now. Let's go. All right, let's go. Give a quick shout out where you guys are tuning in from this morning. I see XRP Plumbing is first in down there in Miami. We got Florida in the house also, Art on the Lake number 2, and K-Clog from Indiana. So as you guys bounce in, give a quick shout out, and we'll also do our best to call you out as you come in here. We've got the Netherlands coming in here, which is really great. The great thing is that we have people that watch us coast to coast and country to country. So there's so many different time zones that are represented on every show, and we truly appreciate every single one of you guys here. So we've got Bradenton, Florida, got Ohio. Good morning, everyone. Make sure you get your coffee, because we got a good amount of things that we want to dig into. First thing we're going to talk about, though, we're going to go through this new token Escrow that is now live on the XRPL mainnet. And then we're going to also dig into the new XRPL version 3.1.0. And what does all of this really mean, being that we've seen so many developments over the past months, but now things are really beginning to heat up. So Joe Bud, what is up in Puerto Rico, and Zober out in Colorado? So that's awesome. All right, let's get into this thing. Let me share my screen, and we're going to have so many great things to talk about today. So a lot of videos to share also. So let me make sure we get the audio kicked off here too. All right, here we go. Let's dig into this here. This is straight from Ripple X Dev. So this is the XLS85 is now live on the XRPL mainnet. Now, this is going beyond just native escrow functionality, or it's going taking the native escrow beyond just XRP. This is where when we start going cross chain, we get true institutional build and institutional use. So yes, everybody is hyper focused on the one digital asset on XRP. But imagine if we look at the global audience and we start and when we dig into some of the core features of the XRPL, and one of them is a DEX, which allows for easy, fast, efficient, and cheap exchange of currency. So now, what we want to really look at that. Stephen Hines notified in Cincinnati, and audio is good. Appreciate that. Always want to double check that audio is good because you just never know. You just never know. Now, having this feature to extend beyond just XRP, now it's going to go to all trust line based tokens and multi-purpose tokens, which is really important. And this is going to be stable coins like the RLUSD all the way to real world assets. So now as we're tokenizing real world asset, having availability of a platform to now be able to trade, exchange, build on, establish escrow. To me, I'm more excited that the assets themselves, the speculative assets, are exciting, right? We go back to 2009, 2010, 2011, 12, as we start seeing development from Bitcoin to eventually to XRP, and then over the years, we've seen the Ethereum, and then obviously Litecoin, which we emphasize was out there. But there's so many assets. Many of them are still very speculative. Now, as conditions are changing, the big move goes institution. We need to have big institutions playing in this space. But we also need to see this idea, the tokenization of real world asset changes the dynamics. I firmly believe that once we get into being able to transact, hold a note, be able to have an NFT representation of a deed on a property, being able to transact that property instantaneously without a lot of the fluff and fat. Chip shared an article with me the other day, and it was on the fast pace that AI is moving right now, that many jobs are going to be gone based on the pace of AI within the next 1 to 5 years, and potentially even faster than that. So over the next 6 months to 12 months, we're going to see AI take on a significant role change. The last iteration of ChatGPT was largely written by itself, and now as the next development, the next big change of AI will probably be all written by itself, and it's getting to a point where it doesn't need the input from the human user in order to identify the need for an upgrade. And so we're starting to see progress at a scale that I don't think we've ever seen before. If you see the change within AI, like, go to Suno, go to some of the video based AI programs. The last month has been just awe-inspiring in terms of the pace of development. So if you can measure, just like crypto, we always looked at development of crypto, the moves that it took centuries for fiat currency to make a change. And then crypto, you look back months and it's like years. AI is developing at a pace that is unmatched at this point. Now, the reason why I bring that up is because the next big move, and you're already starting to see it, which within the financial space, having agents, AI agents that are able to trade, but some of them will start becoming more self-sufficient in the trade where you set them loose. Now imagine, all of the fat that's required within a real estate transaction, from the legal to the real estate agents to the titles and the government input and all the things that have to happen within trade of a property or sale and purchase of a property. And so now imagine all of those pieces will be handled through AI. Now imagine you also have your real estate tokenized, and so that asset, that deed that lives in the blockchain, represented through an NFT, can then easily be transferred. But all the other things that need to happen in order to maintain the flow of kind of that civil society of the handover of an asset to make sure that that it's happening in the pace or whatever that it has to happen. Uh, you take away all the human element, and now all of a sudden you have instant transfer of property, and you can have all the other things that happen in and around it, which is exciting. And so this update with this token escrow uh, update that's now on the XRPL mainnet is putting us closer to a reality of changing the institutional utility of crypto asset, not just the XRP, not just the Bitcoin or Ethereum, but the stablecoin asset, the tokenized real world asset, just all the different features. So here, the XRPL now supports secure, conditional, on-chain settlement for all assets. I think it's really phenomenal. Everything that is happening here is moving us, quickly in a direction. Now, people keep, will reference back to the banking infrastructure. We're going to need banking infrastructure. We need financial institutions. What those financial institutions and the banks look like 5 years from now might be drastically different than what they look like today. And a large part of that is going to be due to AI. Another large part of that is going to be due to blockchain. So imagine, as we want to, end the corrupted nature of the fiat system, the a structure that is kind of it's ripe with fraud, but it's built to maintain the fraud, cover up the fraud, and based on power players and human nature and government intervention and all the different things that go on. Now imagine all this goes into the blockchain, full transparency of transaction. Right? Yeah, you need insurance. I mean, there's all the different elements of things that we definitely need to have happen in and around transaction. And now all of this could happen instantaneous. Forget about the people. Maybe there's one agent now that can manage a significant chain of transactions versus having all these different individuals that can only manage, X amount of transaction. So now all of a sudden, what happens with all the people? That's the big question right now. And that was kind of the point in the article is what happens when people become redundant to a point where what do they do, right? We're seeing robotics built up. Are we 5 years away or 10 years away from robotic presence in construction? And is that going to outpace the need for individuals in construction? At what point and what parts of the world begin to implement full-blown AI transaction along with the robotic transaction, considering that AI will start writing itself? And then what kind of impact is that having in the financial and financial institutions on a global scale? Being that AI is not going to be able to transact in fiat, AI is not going to play well with people. So that means that if the AI is able to visualize and communicate within the blockchain world, that starts to make more sense. I mean, there's a lot of components to this. Definitely a lot of components. Interesting here too. Understand insurance companies are nothing but banks. They're the only ones that can afford insurance companies, hedge fund. They also own the insurance companies. There's a lot to that within the insurance. And you think the insurance is another mechanism that removes risk, so to speak. But, they've, I think, sold people a bill of goods on the insurance because of the fact that people want to be less risk. They're less risk tolerant. So, you know, they feed off of that, and it's almost, hedging on fear mongering. So if you think about like healthcare insurance, the whole notion that we need healthcare insurance is a misconception. People want healthcare insurance because due to healthcare insurance, the cost of medical care has risen exponentially. So, being that the medical care has risen exponentially, people feel they can't afford it. Therefore, they want healthcare insurance. And so the whole notion is twisted. And now we've reached a point within the medical space where medical care is subservient to the government whim, based on what they will allow or won't allow for insurance. You think about in the U.S., you have Medicaid and you have Medicare. In other countries, they say, "Oh, we have free healthcare." You don't have free healthcare because nothing is ever free. You're always sacrificing something. And what happens in these countries, like over in the UK or Canada, where they supposedly have free healthcare, go and try to get actual healthcare. And you'll find out very quickly that you don't have ready access to surgeries. You don't have ready access to imaging. It doesn't exist on the scale that it does exist in a country where you have kind of where you have two systems. So if you have, like here in the US, you have a lot of cash pay healthcare. If you go to India, they have a significant amount of cash pay healthcare. If you go to Germany, it's very similar. And so if you think back, where the cost of like medical care was before it got corrupted by healthcare insurance, your medical care was paid out of pocket. It was cash. You didn't need to have insurance cover it, right? And we need to get back there to a point where, if you want to have good quality in anything, it has to be a negotiation. You can't just have one party supplying a product that nobody ever knows what the price is because it's covered by some third party entity, which is the insurance. The quality of the care is going to be sacrificed. And that's what we've seen within the typical medical care, which is now dictated by the pharmaceutical companies and the government. They dictate. And so now we're seeing an unraveling of that in the US, based on RFK finally digging in, and making some points. But really, what we need to do is get back to a catastrophic insurance. If you end up in the hospital and it's catastrophic, that's one thing. But your day-to-day healthcare insurance, you should never, ever have to use insurance to go to an eye doctor, to go to the dentist, to go to the urgent care. It should 100% all be paid out of pocket. It should all be cash. And why is that all relevant? Because it relates back to, what we're talking about with, these developments that we're seeing right now with AI, and the developments that we're seeing right now with this new XRPL escrow, because it's going to change fundamentally how the institutions function, how the movement of money functions, how our normal day-to-day transaction functions. And you might not see it if you go buy a loaf of bread, and you're using your credit card. Who cares how the money moves in the back end with that? But we want to make sure that the products we're buying are cost efficient, that we're not overpaying for those products. And now, as you get rid of all the fat, which within every institution, you have layer upon layer upon layer of unneeded personnel because they're pushing papers. Get rid of all of that because you don't need it any longer. It's going to be replaced heavily by AI transaction, because one person could potentially do the role of 10 people, and he can do it more efficiently in significantly less time based on the utility of AI. And now, if you implement things like what we're seeing with the new escrow, then that also changes where we're at. So that's it. We're right there. I mean, we're getting so close to all of these things. So, and then the next thing that we're seeing, and all of this has to happen kind of in tandem, when it comes to, let's see, so now with the Ripple X also announced that there's a new XRPL version. So everyone needs to upgrade to this new XRPL version, also to stay kind of on track with everything else that's been developed here. But the new version introduces the new amendments, important fixes, and everybody has to make sure that, and I like this, upgrading insurer service continuity and alignment with the network as amendments move towards activation. It's getting there. I mean, and then if there's anyone out there that runs a node, there's directions on how to go to version 3.1.0. Here's the action that's required. And then if you go through, install, and now here's the change log. So, so here you have it adds vaults, which pull a single asset for use with a lending protocol. What is a lending protocol? Adds the ability to create loans on the XRP ledger. Loan brokers can create fixed terms, uncollateralized loans using the pool of funds from a single vault asset. The protocol is highly configurable, enabling loan brokers to tune risk appetite, depositor protection, and economic incentives. So again, we're starting to see the institution, we're starting to see rollout of big infrastructure. Obviously, some bug fixes. I like how they kind of roll. There's so many things that kind of happen behind the scenes, and we could look and say, hey, this is great, you know. I guess this was like what, January 28th. So we're like 2 weeks out. 2 weeks out on it, and there was an update that was put. I don't know what the last update that was posted here, but there was some update yesterday that was put in here. But this is all great news. You know, things are progressing, things are moving forward at quite a pace, and the pace is really important considering the direction that we're moving in here. So, more Monkey Biz said, the best insurance I ever took was buying physical silver. That's it, silver and gold. And it's interesting. My mother was also she's into buying silver and gold, and so we were talking about that yesterday. And that's important, you know, having stacks of silver and gold, and then making sure you put it someplace, which is important. Yep. I'm just going back to the whole insurance conversation because a lot of this is going to be streamlined in a very short period of time. I don't know, a year, 2, 3 years, 5 years, whatever that number is between AI and blockchain tech. It's going to be able to streamline all of the fat that goes on within these insurance. So here, the process of insurance today will need to change, where if you had no claims in 10 years, you should get that's it. If you have car insurance, why is it that car insurance and property insurance continuously goes up? What's the difference? What's changing that continuously requires insurance to go up? They're making a shit ton of money. You know, you don't get any of it back. You don't get a discount. You don't get anything back if you have zero claim. And you're right. You know, if there's zero claim, there should be some clear benefit. I'm adjusting my lighting. My lighting was so gray. Hang on. There we go. That's real light. That's real color. I had to put some color into it. I was going black and white. It's going to be a black and white special. Had to add some color to the camera. So, all right. So that's on the XRPL side. Some real clear changes and developments going on over there. And now let's go into some of the geopolitics. Why do we want to bounce into the geopolitics? How does this all kind of come together when we have a clear understanding of what's happening kind of on a national scale, as we have to on an international scale, and it all involves moving towards freedom. And one of the things that we're seeing right now play out is that Trumpism, the Trump mantra, is taking root on a global scale, country to country. We just saw the last election cycle over in Japan moving towards and thanking Trump for his courage. The Clarity Act, yeah, it is moving forward. We have El Salvador, we have Argentina, we have Costa Rica. Now we have Italy is very entrenched in moving and cleaning things up from a corruptive state, and so lot of really critical things that are happening right now. But let's play this real quick. There's a great video with Trump. Let me play this.
To give you all of the equipment you need, we're also purchasing 30 new and modified Abrams tanks. Still the best tank, right? Still? It was named in honor of Stacey Abrams. Only a few very political people would understand that. Congratulations. Thank you very much for a great name, Stacey. But to give you all of the equipment you need, we're also purchasing...
Trump is always on point. He's always so funny. He's got it, just what a humor. He's got a good sense of humor. All right, so let's see, man. There's a lot of things going on over there in the UK right now, also in Canada, also here in the US. A lot of fraud has been uncovered in the US. We've seen it in Minnesota. There's more fraud now from there's Medicare fraud, there's welfare fraud, there's just across the board. We saw what happened with the Somalis. There's in Massachusetts, and we'll go through. Hopefully we can get to all of them. There was another there was a Venezuelan group that was like they defrauded SNAP benefits and welfare benefits, and the tune of like 400,000, and another in like 700,000. So over $1 million in fraud, just one instance. And they're catching across the board, across the country, the level of fraud with many of the illegal, but some legal, immigrants that came over here, and they saw the ease of how they can quickly use corruptive techniques here. And we're not ready for a lot of the things that happen in those countries on how they kind of get around rules and regulations. I don't know if we're prepared for how over here, it's going to be even more extreme. But the thing is that the states that are ripe with it, that will allow for the fraud, and the communities that allow for it it's at the highest levels. So even the government and elected officials will turn a blind eye to it, mainly because they're also getting kickback and payback. And we're going to see the Attorney General of Minnesota, the amount of money that he benefited directly. And if you think about who that Attorney General is, he also is a huge supporter of organizations that directly support terrorism as well. So, and he always has been, and he'll stand out, for that. And that's Keith Ellison. So organizations like CARE and some of the others like that. He's always been a big proponent or a proponent for them. Now, all right. Let's just go to the next video, and we're gonna kind of dig down through each one of them. There's so many great things that to review and dig into, but we have to understand kind of the dynamics that are at play right now because of what's happening. As we kind of analyze this, and I got to get out of this big video that I just had up there. Let me see here. Give me a second. All right. It's weird. This one doesn't want to open. Trying to open this one, and it keeps opening the wrong video. All right, here we go. So this is coming from someone over in England, and it's amazing, because as you start seeing individuals that are waking up over in the UK, people that are waking up in Canada, people that are waking up in our own country, whether it's in Georgia because of the defrauded elections, Arizona, Michigan, Massachusetts, Wisconsin, all the areas where there was fraud that took place at the polls. And there's kind of an awakening because a lot of this information is now being dug up. And it's also very clear. They also are very close to passing the Save America Act, which is the requirement of voter ID. And the Democrats are fighting back tooth and nail. Could you imagine? Imagine if you just put the voting on the blockchain And now you just have to prove that you are who you are. One person, one vote. Everybody should have to prove who they are before they vote. The vote is the most important thing that you can do within our political system, within our representative republic, our constitutional republic. You have to have acknowledgement of who's voting. Otherwise, you have nothing. If you don't know that it's a citizen of the state voting, what else do you have? You might as well get rid of voting altogether at that point. And that's exactly what the Democrats want. The Democrats are covering up the biggest fraud in the history of this country, which was the 2020 election. The fact that they defrauded the American people out of a duly elected and more than one, because now there's evidence and that will come out, that's coming out, that Kerry Lake in Arizona also won. And there's going to be more instances like this that are going to come out. There was fraud in Georgia, and the person that was responsible basically covered it up. He's a so-called Republican. So it crosses the party line. They're all working towards the same objective and agenda. There's also one of the videos, we had some information. Someone came out and showed that even Mitch McConnell, was tied up in all of this. So you have the Rhino echelon. These are they don't care about the letter after their name. They parade around to get elected as a Republican or a Democrat, but all they really are there for is the power. That's it. They're there strictly for the power. Now the blockchain gives us transparency within the voting process, gives us transparency within our budget. So think about the national budget put into blockchain. Imagine if it was all RLUSD. That's how the money moves. It moves efficiently. They're moving billions of dollars in RLUSD. It's moving. It's transparent. It's clear. There's a clear sender, a clear recipient, and it's documented in the ledger for all to see, for all to audit in real time. Real-time audit. Imagine Doge right now and Elon Musk has been very outspoken, again, just recently, talking about all the benefits and thing that Doge has brought to this country, the stuff that they've revealed, that they've uncovered. Now imagine now they have to dig through to try to uncover this. Put it into the blockchain. Let's get full transparency. Let's end the power hold that these people in the legacy system have over the system. And that's what's going to be critical, is get rid of their power stranglehold over the system. Let's put everything out there in the open when it comes to government transaction. We need to know. We need to know where our money's being spent. Don't have to know if the CIA is doing some sort of an activity, but we need to know that X amount of money has gone to our security. Say it's $1 trillion, whatever the number is. Here's how much money goes to the military. Here's how much money goes here. Here's what the expenses are. Here's what the receipts are. So if we're getting money in through tariff, imagine if you cut out the fraud, how much money we're going to save. And we're at the tip of the iceberg, identifying where all this fraud is. And we're going to find that our taxes, and I think it was Bukele when he came over here, Bukele from El Salvador spoke in front of CPAC, and he specifically said that our tax dollars don't do anything. All the tax dollars gives you like this fictitious idea that we're actually contributing to something, but it's really just a transfer of wealth from the workers, to the welfare recipient class, and it's a means of power and control over the populace through taxation. But our taxes aren't really needed. And Bukele, look at what he's done in El Salvador to clean up the streets. He had to put 80,000 people in prison because 80,000 people is the total number of direct criminals in the country. Now it's a safe country. But think about how the IMF and the UN and other NGOs were against what he was doing in El Salvador to save his own people. They wanted to elevate the rights of the criminal over the rights of the law-abiding citizen. Just like in this country, right? You have Joe Biden and his entire echelon. You have the current governor of Minnesota, the current mayor of Minneapolis, that will put the right, quote unquote, of the criminal, the illegal criminal, over the right of the law-abiding citizen. The mayor of New York wants to protect an individual who is a violent criminal over the rights of the populace. And we're seeing this repeat narrative time and time again, where the judges and the mayors and the city councils are putting the rights of illegals in this country over the rights of the law-abiding citizen. How do you get rid of all of this? How do you take care of all of this? Well, it's in our hands. It's sitting right in front of us. The power is in front of us. The power is in crypto. The power is making sure that we have a mechanism in this country and on a global scale that we can quickly audit in real time what is happening. We also have to have a mechanism in our hands that monetarily allows us to benefit directly and have some semblance of control 24/7, right, over our money. Think about, you put money in a bank, you can go to an ATM, you can take out whatever the max amount is from the ATM, but you do not have access to your banking movement of money in real time 24/7. You can't do it. Now, if you want to move big sums of money, you can't do that either. It's extremely difficult to move big sums of money. They put a cap on it and they'll question you and they'll do everything in their power to slow it down. If you want to move big amounts of money, big sums of money, the banks put a cap on it. Why? Because the whole banking infrastructure is based on the fact that our money sits in their bank long enough so they can earn interest on short-term loans that they're lending out, whether it's to other banks or other institutions, whatever it is. They're leveraging money on a scale we've never seen before. And if there was ever a run on a bank, they would be out of business instantaneously. You know, they can't live up to the requirement of the money that we want. If everybody went to a branch, to one of the banks tomorrow and said, look, I want my money. I want all of it. I want you, and I want it in cash. They can't do it, depending on how much. They probably don't have that cash sitting in the bank. But they won't let you take it. They're going to put a hold on it. They'll put a delay. They'll do everything in their power to not let you release it, especially if it's bigger sums of money. Now, again, you don't have access to that money 24/7. Now, imagine within the crypto world, you have it on, I don't care if it's on Uphold or Coinbase, or you have it in a private held wallet on a ledger, wherever that crypto asset is, you have direct access to that asset 24/7. Now, this is the big differentiator. This is why it's so critical right now, this movement, again, between AI, where AI is going and where crypto's going, and the big institutions are going to try to fight back, or the big governments, I should say. All of these things are definitely, I think it's 10,000. It's not even 100,000. It's 10,000. I don't think you can take $10,000 with you. Though that if you take 9,000, it's okay. Don't take 10. That's it. Yep. It's insane. It's crazy that they put that kind of cap on you. Like, why can't I? Why can't I take it? This is a good point too. Bruce is saying banks are going to get their share by using their own stable coin and heavy promotion. They're going to do whatever they can. The key, even with that though, is that whatever the banking infrastructure looks like in 5 years, 3 years, 2 years, AI is going to be a big part of it. You're going to go into a bank branch, maybe there might be one person employee. Even if you go into a bank branch now, then tell me how many employees you see in the bank. I went into a large branch. I walked in there. They have on the ground floor, I don't know, they had cubicles, they have private offices. I mean, they probably had enough to staff 15 people. minimum. There's probably more space. I just didn't count it all. Teller wise, there's enough counters probably for 6 tellers plus the drive-through tellers. There were 2 or 3. So they probably have 20 people in there. There were 3 people working in this bank, plus the guard at the front door. That was it in the entire branch. And I'm looking, I'm like, well, you guys really aren't really needed, I guess, but that's where the change is going. Another branch, smaller branch, they typically have 2 tellers and 1 person in office, maybe 2. And that's it. They'll have 4 people in a bank where they used to be full lines, lots of people. Go to other countries, and that's what you see because they don't have the same access. Yeah, I don't even think it's going to be a robot. I think maybe you're right. You can put a robot there, but I think with the implementation of AI, you could potentially have 1 human person in the branch, in the bank. And you're right. You could probably have terminals. Maybe we don't even have to go into the branch anymore at all because the efficiency of communication through the portal will be much more efficient. And that's the direction AI is going, where the AI chatbots a year ago were not that smart. They were okay, responsive, but now they're picking up on tonality. They're more dialect driven. And I think there were a lot of advancements just in the past couple of weeks, especially with the new launch that came out beginning of February. There's been some major changes within AI over the past few months, and we're going to see another huge leap forward, and much of it through the agents. All of that, the phone dialogue, and if you've noticed that if you tested them a little while ago to where they are today, they're significantly different. The tonality of their voice, the way they communicate, it's shifting so rapidly. It's gonna, things are definitely shifting in an interesting direction. We just all have to be cognizantly aware of what's happening, right, and prepare ourselves. So that's this one article that Chip shared. I'll have to get it out and share it with everybody also. But it dug into what he's been experiencing. And this guy worked in AI for like 6 years. And he's seen where the AI has gone over the past 6 years and where it is today and where it's going to go over the next year is going to be insane. Britannia, yeah, yes. Is that, you can take Britannia coins. What is a Britannia coin? What is that? What is the, not sure what that is, but I know that the last time we went to the UK, I had old currency and I meant to change it ahead of time. And it really sucked because I had stacks of 20-pound notes and I went to use them like, oh no, you can't use these. And that really sucked. And I missed the, oh, thank you. Appreciate that, Ed. All right, let's get into this. Let me put this, this one up here. Let's see. Let me rewind it. Hang on a minute.
Let me explain modern politics with a lesson from golf. I once watched 2 professional golfers get asked a simple question. How do you know if a golfer is actually good? One gave a flawless technical lecture. Stance, hips, swing path, eye on the ball. Beautiful. The other crossed his arms and said just one thing. I look at where the ball lands. That's exactly where the political class gets it wrong with Donald Trump. They obsess over the swing, the words, the tone, the exaggerations, the headlines. I care about one thing. Where did the ball land? National security, a stronger economy, falling inflation, solid GDP growth, lower gas prices, even egg prices. Remember how that dominated 2024? Funny how nobody's screaming about it now. When problems get fixed, they disappear from the narrative, Venezuela included. That's not chaos, that's results. Serious leadership isn't performance art, it's outcomes.
Yeah, I was going to say, as I'm listening to it, it sounds like it's AI generated. It could very well be, that could be AI. I don't know if that's AI or not, but that definitely seemed like it was AI. But the idea behind it is very interesting. Here's another one. This is for the salvation of the UK. There's a new party being launched in the UK. And let's see, let me see. Hang on a second. How long is this? This is just a few minutes. This might be a little bit slow. Let's put this one up. This stuff happening over in the UK. We need to have, this is Douglas Murray over in the UK. Let's see. Then there's some others here too. There's Jim Ratcliffe. Actually, that's the one I really want to put up because that guy is doing some impressive things. So we'll put him up here in a second. But let's it. Yeah, I think that was. Yes, I do. All right. Let me add this one.
I want them to live here. I don't want them here. They came under false pretenses. Many of them came illegally and continue to come illegally. And we don't want them here. And I'm perfectly willing to say that because it needs to be said. If I hated Australia, hated the Australian people, hated Australian history, hated the Australian way of life, broke into the country illegally and spent my time trying to undermine Australia, why should I be in Australia? Why? What would I have brought the country? What benefit? What moral benefit? What financial benefit? What social benefit? The answer is you'd have brought no benefit. So why just hope that those people are not in large enough numbers and keep your fingers crossed?
All right. So that's you guys get the idea. That's Douglas Murray. But here's the one that I want to play up here because, and actually it's interesting too, because there was someone that in Congress, actually, they were questioning some of the people from Minnesota. They were talking about the Somalis and they were calling them out on some of the facts of, because they keep saying the Somalis are very impactful on Minnesota. They've done great things for Minnesota. And so he starts breaking down the numbers. I think I have that video and I'll put that one up too, because it's very alerting that you can see the government officials that are purposefully covering up reality to fit their agenda. You can say, oh, those are politicians. Well, that's changing, right? It's time to clean that up. We can't continue down a path where the corrupted nature of politics is the status quo. That just doesn't work, right? We have to make a significant change. So here, let me put this one up. So this is Manchester United co-owner. Britain has been colonized by immigrants. There's another video that I have that the guy was talking, and he said that the only outcome in order to save Britain is going to be civil war, and he sees it coming. I don't know. I'm also kind of leaning in that direction, that the only way you save a country like that. I look at Canada. I also say, I don't know how Canada comes back, because you have a population size of 30 million. Once you get to 20% of your population being illegal or individuals that are coming in from countries that don't want to assimilate to your culture, but they want to change your culture to the shitty culture they came from, then what does that say for your country? Your country is being colonized. Now, for some reason, the libertarians in this country, the Democrats in this country, the leftist organizations around the world want to defend the Islamists. I don't understand what the reasoning is behind, their reasoning. I mean, I know why they're doing it. It's all about power and control. But what do they, other than that, like, what are people gravitating to say we want to bring these Islamists into the country? Why is it okay to see mosques being built in Japan? Thank God for the new government over in Japan, because they saw the reality of it. Japan. Why should Japan? We'll see how long it lasts. I don't know if it's going to last long. We'll see. It's kind of like Chip's hair. Chip changes his hairstyles. I had to change it. That's all I got. Appreciate it. All right, let's play this real quick.
At the moment, I don't think the economy is in a good. You can't afford. You can't have an economy with 9 million people on benefits, and huge levels of immigrants coming in. I mean, the UK is being colonised. It's costing too much money. It will cause. It'll cause. Well, the UK has been colonised by immigrants.
Pretty extraordinary interview with Jim Ratcliffe. I mean, he doesn't do many of these things. He's relatively reticent, and he's incredibly influential. So getting these kind of insights into what he's thinking about the UK, blunt as they are, doesn't happen that much. You met recently with Nigel Farage, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Do you think that they would be a good government if they were to win the next election?
I think Nigel is an intelligent man, and I think he's got good intentions, but in a way you could say exactly the same about Keir when Keir came in. But, I think it needs somebody who's prepared to be unpopular for a period of time too.
Yep.
Get the big issues sorted out, would be my view. Yeah. Unfortunately, I've seen quite a bit of it at the football club, of course. If you do difficult things, which we felt that we had to do at Manchester United, but we felt they were the right things to do, you become very unpopular for a while.
Do you feel unpopular at the moment?
Well, I've been very unpopular at Manchester.
I think that's interesting. And then to relate it to doing difficult things to make big changes, whether it's in business or sports, which is a business, or politics, which is also a business in running the country. But Trump, popular, unpopular, whatever, however you want to look at it, is just crushing it, right? And think about the direction that we're moving in the U.S. The U.S. is on the right track, and we know the U.S. is on the right track when they're so, the Democrats are so outspoken. But at the same time, when you see other countries thanking the fact that they have leadership, Trump is symbolic. I'm so sick of the America only crowd. It's America first. We're in America. We're in the United States. It's the U.S. first. That doesn't mean that we ignore our allies. That doesn't mean that we have influence with our allies and our partners out there, that we're not there to help and support them. Because if we take that approach, we become isolationists. The America only crowd are 100% isolationists. We don't live in an isolated world. You can't exist that way. These people are just not intelligent enough to understand the dynamics of living in a global kind of society where we have to look out for ourselves. They look out for themselves. We have allies and then we have enemies out there, and we're going to support our allies. We want them to succeed like we succeed. And we're going to make sure that we have some sort of a dialogue with the enemy state to keep them to make sure that we don't have armed conflict with them. It's negotiation. We live in this world. But right now, within the leftist countries, they're letting the enemy invade their country to take over their country, our allies, and our allies are spitting on our face like Canada spits on our face. The UK spit on our face. And you think that we're going to sit there where we can't allow those countries to fall into ruin, but they're letting it happen to themselves. So then we have leaders that, hey, you want to take back your country and the people want to take it back. We're here to help and support you to do that. We don't want the Islamification of England. We don't want the Islamification of Canada. We don't want the Islamification of Texas, of Florida, of Michigan, of Massachusetts, of Minneapolis. We don't want it. Nobody wants it. If you're coming over to any of these countries, these Western countries, don't bring your shit to our country. We're westernized countries. We have our own belief system. If you want to come over here and benefit and reap the rewards of our free society, don't bring your shit with you. That's number one. You bring your shit with you. And Trump just announced another initiative that hopefully gets passed through, that if you're a elected political official that allows for a sanctuary city that brings these people in and wants to protect these criminals, that you get to go to jail. And we need to hold our political elite class to a standard. We can't allow the fraud to take place. There's so many pieces of this puzzle. It all goes back to DeFi, right? Decentralization. The people need to have more power. We've willfully given our power economically to a class that doesn't care about the outcome of our futures. They're all about their own power. You take like a Mitch McConnell, you take an AOC, you take a Nancy Pelosi, you take, Maxine Waters. They could give a shit about your outcome. They don't care if you do well. They don't care, if you succeed, if you fail. What they care about is staying in office, making their salary off your tax dollars and getting payback after payback after payback. Their accounts get fat. Each one of them are millionaires. You have to question yourself. How is Bernie Sanders a multimillionaire? How is AOC a multimillionaire? How is Ilhan Omar a multimillionaire? $30 million, no track record of business. How is this stuff happening? And it's been happening for many years. And the paybacks are massive. Whether your son sells his horrible artwork, or if he gets a position on a board with an entity in a space that he knows nothing about, paybacks. Whether you write a book, think about Obama when they gave him a book deal and forwarded him $1 million when he was running for president because he didn't have enough money. Like, here you go, write your book deal, not book sales, book deal, fronted $1 million because they knew that if he wins, the book will make a shit ton of money. But that's how they move money. Now, how do you say, is that guy now subservient to whomever fronted the $1 million? And if someone's buying your artwork, is that payback? In a roundabout way, it's not direct payment. All that stuff has been happening. And now they got to say, enough's enough. We can't allow this fraud to take place anymore. And the way to do it, blockchain. Put all transactions on the blockchain. Limit. Trump also is pushing for a limit in elected official positioning. And it's not just the elected officials, as we saw with Gary Gensler. It's the appointed officials. The appointed officials are sometimes worse than the elected official. The hired employee is sometimes worse than the elected official because the hired employee might be in government for 30 years, right? They're there for their entire career. So think about that. Think about the hired official that works for government. Not saying they're not doing real work, but they're not needed. We have way too many employees and they're inefficient, right? So you have inefficient workers that aren't held to any kind of a standard because they're hard to fire. So they're not held to a standard like every other business where you need performance. And so this is how the government is run, with this fat. And so we got to get rid of that fat. AI, blockchain is going to change the dynamics of even running those operations. Let's let it be transparent. Let's let that be the first change because we don't need it. And that's what Trump's saying, for Congress, U.S. House, 6 years. That's 3 terms and out, in and out, 12 years for Senate, 2 terms for Senate. That's it. You don't need to be in the U.S. Senate for more than 12 years. You learn your role in the first year. You have 6 years to finish first term, get your second term, and you're gone. Bring somebody else in to represent the state. Go do something else. Same thing with the U.S. House, 6 years. That's 3 terms. The idea of the U.S. House politically was meant to be a part-time gig. You were supposed to have a full-time job, and you were supposed to go back to your full-time job. And you were supposed to do that on a part-time basis. At some point, we see the corruptive nature of politics because they're around power all the time. They're fighting for power all the time. They're vying for power all the time. That is an unhealthy position. Now, that's in the U.S. Now, go to the parliamentary systems, and they're completely backwards, right? There's not one parliamentary form of government that works efficiently anywhere. The parliamentary system is probably the worst system of government that exists, right? Other than the monarchies and the fascists and everything else. But forget the parliamentary form of government because you have zero representation there. You don't elect your representative. You elect your representative at the local level, but you don't get to decide on the higher level. It's based on party influence, and then these people are there forever. Right. And so and then the vote of no confidence and the tensions within the parliamentary form of government. It's just a bad form of government. but that it's corruptive. It's corruptive in its core, which is, you know, problematic. So we need to find a path. Now, the U.S., I believe that our U.S. form of government is by far the best in the world. There's nothing better than our form of government. There's nothing better than the U.S. Constitution. It's unique. That it's awe-inspiring for everyone else in the world. People all over the world want to come to the United States for a reason, because the U.S. is presumably the best country on earth, you know, for people to come here and live out a specific dream without the shackles of government. But we're witnessing that happen here in this country, when you have the overreach of the overzealous elected official and bureaucrat and unelected official that is penalizing the individual. And now we also see those that want to maintain and keep getting elected. The ones that want to keep getting elected are bringing over illegals, and they're fighting tooth and nail to make sure that you don't need an ID to vote. And they're making up lie after lie after lie after lie. The only reason they don't want to have an ID to vote is because they want someone that isn't legally in this country. They want them to vote. They want someone without an ID, or they want someone to cross state lines to vote. Yes, it's a felony, but people are willing to do that, especially if there's paybacks within that government, within their process. There's so much involved in it. There's just so many elements to what's happening. Let me just, I was going to play this one with Nigel Farage. I don't know that, let me see. Yeah, let me just play this because I think it's important. I know we're kind of at the hour. I had some few other things I wanted to put up too. I think I talked over all of it. So yeah, let me put this up.
One of the richest Britons in the world, of course, the boss of Ineos and now a major shareholder in Manchester United Football Club, has caused outrage by his comments. So what's he actually said? Well, he said that our population has gone up from 58 million to 70 million, and that with 9 million people of working age on benefits, we don't need mass migration. He said much of the country had been colonized by immigrants. Now, that word was a controversial word. And he said, okay, if you don't like the word, we'll tone it down.
They need to stop caving over and bending over backwards with terminology. They need to stop using the words. That's why, you know, he pointed out, he said, due to immigration. Let's talk. Then they call them migrants. No, they're not migrants. They're not immigrants. They're illegally entering into your country. You want to call them an immigrant? Well, precede it with illegal. They're illegally coming into your country and they're colonizing your country. Now, if you have a path for legal status and they're coming in legally, that's different. When they come in mass numbers and they're illegally coming into the country, but the fact that he said the population went from 58 million to 70 million, 12 million of these people that they've brought in, and 9 million of them are living off the government. What does that tell you? You know, I mean, it's mass numbers. You know, it's just, you know, just inflicting everything. That's it. Linguistics is everything. Exactly that. Yeah. That's exactly what they want to do. They flip the narrative and then they use your language against you. And then it becomes very commonplace where if you keep using their lingo, then you're actually losing. You lose the battle. You know, and you can't allow that to happen. You can't let their terminology to infiltrate and infect the different outcomes. And so, but to that point, you know, they're all very aware of exactly what's happening over there. And, you know, and right now, you know, there's just a lot that's happening, you know, that is kind of a little nerve-wracking. And hopefully, you know, there's more and more people that see the truth of the matter. Now, here's a British Army colonel, and he warns that war is coming to the UK. And really, when you look at it, how are they going to fix it? Similar to Canada. How does Canada get fixed? There's a scary video that I have with somebody from Canada when they talk about how they're labeling extremists at this point. And hey, you know, people need to live together. If you look at the US has always been a melting pot. Unlike some other countries, this country is built on immigration, people coming here from all over the world to live a better life. They wanted a better life for their families. They wanted to have a piece of the American culture. They wanted to be part of the American society. They wanted to live it. I don't care where you come from, right? It doesn't matter. South America, Africa, the Middle East, Asia, doesn't matter where you come from. Europe, people want to come to the US because they want a better life for their families and they want to assimilate into our culture. Now, what happens is that when you bring over mass numbers of people all at the same time, 100,000, 200,000, 500,000, all these numbers, these mass numbers, the movements that we saw under the Biden administration, where they let hundreds of thousands of people in at a time, and then they put them in clumps together. These people do not assimilate. Many of them came over. They did not want to assimilate. They came here with a specific purpose to seed the country with people that want to collapse it from within. Now, a lot of that agenda is still, it's coming from the Islamist. They're telling you what they want to do. They're very outspoken in the UK. They're very outspoken here. They come in these mass numbers. They maintain their observance to extremist ideology and extremist religious law. And so they come here not to live the American dream, not to experience our wealth of culture, but they come here to convert the culture to their shitty culture they came from. Right? They want it backwards. They want to subjugate women. They don't like Christians. They don't like Jews. They don't like Hindus. They want to fundamentally change how people are living within this country. Now, you want to come over? I don't care. You want to come over here and live amongst everyone else? You have the right to practice your religion. You have the right to have a church, a synagogue, a mosque. You can have all that, right? The moment you start infringing on other people's rights of living within this country per the Constitution, that's where things change. You want to come over here and try to convert people to Sharia law? Doesn't work. You want to impose your Sharia law on other people? You want to subjugate women to be an underclass? You want to subjugate Jews and Christians to be an underclass? That doesn't fly. You want to tell people in this country that you want to destroy this country, and you're actively doing it, and you're issuing a threat to individuals on the ground and this country, get the hell out. And we shouldn't allow these people to be here. It doesn't make sense, right? You have freedom of speech, but as soon as your freedom of speech is violent, that's no longer freedom of speech. That's where it ends. You don't have the freedom to call for violence. And so that's where it ends. That's the same thing on the marching on the streets with the protests. End it, right? You don't have that freedom. Now you're infringing on someone else. Now you're committing an assault on other individuals. That's an assault because that person is afraid of imminent bodily harm. And so that is no longer okay. But they're coming here and the leftists are covering it up and coddling them, and they love them, and they want to take away voter IDs. Or they want to take away the need for voter IDs. It's not okay. It just is not okay. Yeah. Let me see. Sounds like people who moved to Florida, they came here, love it so much, and then moved down here and want it to be like where exactly like that. Like people that moved here from New York, right? They come down here and they're like, oh, we want to go live in Florida. But those people come here for the weather back in the day. Things are changing now. People that come here from New York and California are now coming here specifically because of the red state, not because of the blue state. In earlier years, yes, if you look at big areas of Broward County and even Miami-Dade were blue, mainly because you had the New Yorkers that moved down here, the West Coast with the Michigan people and the Midwest. Then you have the Canadians in Hollywood, Florida, but they come and go. But you're right, 100%. That's exactly what they did. They came from New York and they brought their Northeast politics to South Florida. But guess what? That doesn't fly here anymore. And those people are being pushed out. Now it's different. Exactly. Yeah, you can come here for the weather, but now people are coming here to flee, right? Think about all the companies that are leaving California, all the companies leaving New York because of their tax policies. And these are people that come here because they want to maintain the freedoms and they want everything that this state has. Now, God forbid, all of a sudden they're like, oh, but I think we can do it differently than they did it. And let's bring down Democrat politics and no, that doesn't work. Republicans are being registered at a higher rate than ever before in history, higher than the Democrats in Florida right now. South Florida is moving rapidly towards more Republicans. There's more Democrats in Broward County that have been registered. It's just traditionally, there's between the Republicans and independents, way more than Democrats. Between if you pair the two together, Republicans and independents outnumber Democrats. Now those Democrats are also are registering Republican on a scale that I don't think they've ever seen before. You know, things are definitely different at this point at right now. You know, definitely different. But just like everything else, yeah, you come from the Middle East. Leave your Middle Eastern politics and all of that in the Middle East. Come to this country and love the multicultural aspect of this country. Practice your religion, you know, any way you want within the confines of your buildings, but don't try to bring that to anybody else. Don't stand on the streets. Don't protest. Don't shout at people. Don't go to Japan and tell people they eat too much pork in Japan or in Korea or wherever you're going to go. You know, that doesn't work. Keep it to yourself. If you're a guest, you know, you've immigrated to that country, act like it, you know, assimilate to their culture. You moved there. No one forced you to move there. No one wanted you to move there. You decided to move there. And now that's it. Be America. Be American. Yeah, that's it. We have our own culture. Yeah, you know, our other cultures, you know, great. Yeah, it's amazing. There's a lot of amazing food. There's a lot of great things in the different cultures. Come here, sprinkle a little of your flavor into our multicultural pot, and call it a day. But don't try to stomp on everyone else and say, "Oh, ours is so much better." No, it's the American society. It's the American culture. And that's it. And that's why English has to be the number one language here. You know, we want to learn other language. That's the one thing we can fault in the U.S., that we should have a better second language program. We should be studying and having the kids study other languages at a higher level. Why not? You go to Europe, they do it. You know, we don't have to in the U.S. because you cross borders, everyone speaks English. But I've studied many different languages, and I think it's important. It gives you a different perspective on their culture as well. And there's a lot to learn, all right? And we just have to get that. Man, what is it? Yeah, okay. Let me play this. I want to play this, and then we'll start wrapping up here. Hang on.
No government, either the government now or no prospective government of the UK, has the guts to stop it. If they want to take strong action to prevent the Islamification of the UK, then it's going to mean big trouble for them. They don't want trouble. They look 4 years ahead. They will kick the can down the road to somebody else. And I think the end result of that is very likely to be civil war in Britain, where the indigenous
Physical civil war.
actual civil. I'm not talking about the American Civil War.
No,
Armies. I'm talking about something more like Northern Ireland, but on a much more intensive scale, where you have the indigenous British and the some of the immigrant population and the British government all on three different sides fighting against each other. And if I'd be very surprised if that doesn't happen, because there's no prospect of the government, any government today, stopping this from occurring.
That's about protecting the people. You know, how do you protect the people of England? How do you make sure that they're safe? Why were there 250,000 young girls raped by these so-called, you know, immigrants, and they're voting to not look into it? It's been devastating on what's going on over there. You know, it's horrible, you know, and it just, now in Britain, they're going to try to allow cousin marriage in, well, I forgot what state it is here. They want to allow animal sacrifice. Are you kidding me? But the other problem is that these people from the country, they've come here and they've learned our ways, meaning they understand that if they can get people elected they can change certain rules within towns and cities, and they can get on the city council, and they're all very similar too. When you look at them, if you look at Elon Omar, they're all placed there. They're financially supported to go there. They're not doing it because they want to be part of it. They're doing it because they want to control it. They want to take it away. They're really trying to make, massive changes in our country, in England, and elsewhere, right? And we really have to be very cognizant of this. I mean, there's so much here with Obama and the Somali fraud, and it's amazing how many. There was another video I had, the number of known terrorists that the Biden administration set free in the U.S. It's crazy. The Georgia fraud. Who's going to jail? That's what I want to know. How many of these Democrats are going to be going to jail? And someone like a Mitch McConnell, is he going to be caught because of what his participation in 2020 and the whole, so it's going to be, very interesting. Let me play this one, because this is northern border. This is in Canada. Now, this is what is she? I don't know exactly what her role is, but I would say this is AI generated, but it's not AI generated. This is in Canada. Hang on.
Well, radicalization in general quite often will show by people isolating themselves and changing their behavior, like changing what they're saying on a subject, like becoming more extremist. And if someone was very believed in equal gender rights, but all of a sudden are leaning towards like traditional values, and that might be a sign that they're becoming more extremist. Well, radicalization in general, quite often.
Radicalization, if someone's going more traditional in their values, right? Not Islamists, more traditional. I'm talking about the Canadians, right? The Christian Canadians, the Jewish Canadians, not the ones that have come from these other countries to try to impose their Islamist threat. They call it traditional. I don't know, but they don't see them as a threat as they're marching in the streets. But from that point, you want traditional marriage and things like that. I mean, it's Canada. Canada's lost the narrative. Also, it's so insane. I don't see Canada coming back. I think we need to build a wall along Canada too, because I feel real bad for the Canadians. They've done this to themselves, but they've done it over so many years. And so one of the things that I was trying to figure out, like, why is it that the Canadian hockey teams are just so bad now? Why is it that they can't win a Stanley Cup? It's been so long since they've won the Stanley Cup. And I was talking to somebody from Canada who said it's because the hockey players, most of them try to get out. They don't want to live in Canada. They want to come down to the U.S. and live here. I don't know if that's the case, but there's a lot of issues in Canada. 30 million people. They've already exceeded 20% of their population. I don't know how they come back. They're going to lose major parts of their land to what's happening over there. And these are people that have come in that don't care about Canada, but they have a bad political system anyway. So anyhow, that's some of the things I wanted to cover today and relate all of these things together. Didn't get into the videos that I wanted to, talking about, are they going to arrest elected officials who broke the law, helping illegals, Georgia fraud. It's time for Democrats to be put in jail. Fraud in Massachusetts, Venezuelan nationals who stole $400,000 in SNAP and $700,000 in unemployment. So they stole $1.1 million from the Massachusetts taxpayers. Small group of people. They run a restaurant and they stole $1.1 million from the taxpayers. So, I mean, fraud on a level and scale. And these people are so smart, though. Like the guys coming in from Somalia, the Middle East, and South America, because they understand the game, right? It's a game with their governments and how they have to circumvent, just to exist over there. There's a lot of ways they have to circumvent normal ways of doing things that we take for granted here. That's like, there's just how, you know, you got to go through step A to Z, and you cover all these things, and that's how the transaction's done. Over there, they're like, well, you know, if we need to benefit, we don't want to pay too much taxes, then we do this, they do that, and they skirt the system. Then they figure it out, and there's a lot of pain going on, cash transaction to speed things up, and it's just like, it's a whole different world, different narrative. But when they come here, like, holy cow, they can abuse the system, and they're just outsmarting. But they're you know, committing crimes. So now they're going to go to jail. But now they're getting caught. People are more observant to what's been happening here, and you can't allow this fraud to take place any longer. It just has to go away. We have to hold our elected officials to task. We have to hold them, make them accountable. The only way you make them accountable is money, right? It's like, tighten the purse string, make sure everything's transparent, make sure that we limit how many times they can get elected, take away their power. As soon as you clip their power, then that's it. Then they don't want to be there anymore. It's like, nope, you don't get unfettered access to getting elected. Nope, you get 3 terms, 2 terms, and you're out. What does that also mean? Any of your appointees also go away. Those guys get out within those terms, and then you let somebody new in there, rotate, get new blood in there on a regular basis. Let's get it fresh in this country. Same thing with local politics. Don't allow a mayor or a city elected official or a school board member to be there too long. Same thing with judges. You know, judges a lot of times are there for life. Now you get a judge who's an activist, who's releasing too many people. Shouldn't they be held to task and held accountable? If they keep releasing criminals back on the street that are repeat offenders, then the judge is doing it because they're an activist. Shouldn't they be held to account also? I mean, there's so many elements to where, you know, if they have to be removed, you can vote them out, and there's different ways, but term limits, number one, is the starting point. Federal and state and local term limits. Get rid of these people. Now, just to kind of summarize everything here, Ripple's XRPL upgrade, right? Not super flashy. It's definitely part of the major infrastructure. We talked about the token escrow going live across issued assets. You know, it's not just, it doesn't seem to be trending out there on social media because it's not sexy. It's not speculative. It's not going to push XRP to 589 tomorrow. But it is definitely expanding the programmability of the XRPL, all the, you know, more on-chain settlement, more cross-currency utility, more use of tokenized asset, real-world asset, stablecoin asset in the institution. Those are big steps forward to where we have to go. And we talked a bit about how AI could be impactful on that. And then we also talked about the government, right? The political backlash that we're witnessing on a global scale because of the overreach of the overzealous leftist governments that are allowing the illegals into their country at such a massive pace, undermining the citizens. And we have to also then look at what's happening. Why is it, you know, becoming commonplace to be okay to do the things that they're doing? It's definitely not okay, right? Every society needs to focus in on their country, put their country first. No other country is first. No isolationism, from my perspective, in this country. It's not America only. It's America first. Support our allies, build our allies up to strong country, strong allies. Everybody benefits, right? So we want to see that. There's a lot of great things that can still be done out there. We can still help our allies that are in distress. At this point, we have to investigate the criminal politicians, make sure they're held to account, make sure that what happens, that they go back and look at the fraud of 2020 and all those people that were involved in the theft of that election get put in prison. Everybody. There should be no one getting out of it. If the FBI and the CIA and all of that is true, all the reports that come out over Obama and some of the other top people from his administration and the Hillary Clintons and all of them that pushed the Russia collusion format and theme to connect Trump with that and it was all a lie, they need to be held accountable. Whatever that requires, if it's a post presidency impeachment, I'm not sure how that works. If you can impeach a president that's already out of office, I believe there's a process for doing that. And so they have to look at something maybe even stronger. That the decentralized infrastructure is going to be critical to everything that we want to be able to do, right? It's really important. So this is how we build the systems and the infrastructure that will outlast and will maintain and continue the system that we want, right? We want financial sovereignty, financial independence. It's not optional, right? We have to move to that value. There's just so many things that have to happen, and that's it, man. That's why we try to bring light to all of this. It's all interconnected, and the better we all understand it, the better we workshop it, the better we look around, the better we're all going to be, for it. So that'd be great. Oh, yes, that's true. 2020 is not over yet. So awesome. All right. Well, tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will all gather back here on the chain and talk more and workshop more. Got a lot of great things to talk about tomorrow night. I will see you guys on the next one. I am out of here. All right, here we go.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.